It began with a signal, one that didn't match any known frequency or language. At first, Earth's deep space listening arrays dismissed it as cosmic noise. But as the signal repeated, patterned, and finally translated itself mid-broadcast, humanity realized something terrifying. They had been contacted and challenged. The message came from a species known as the Zorkai, a galactic superpower believed only to exist in myth and scattered alien lore. They identified themselves as the apex species of the galaxy, undefeated in war, conquerors of over 300 star systems. They had discovered Earth's location through dark matter resonance, a technological feat far beyond human science. And now, they declared Earth worthy of their next trial of strength. The challenge was simple and brutal. In 7 Earth days, a delegation of Zorkai champions would arrive to engage Earth's strongest warriors in ritual combat. If humanity won, the Zorkai would leave Earth untouched for another millennium. If Earth lost, it would be absorbed into the Zorkai dominion, its people genetically catalogued, and its culture wiped clean. Panic spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to organize defense plans, but soon realized their militaries were hopelessly outmatched. The Zorkai were biologically enhanced giants, with technology millennia ahead of anything humanity had ever seen. Their battleships dwarfed entire cities. Their soldiers could punch through steel. The world was not prepared. Amid the chaos, a secretive global coalition was activated, Project Sentinel, a clandestine group formed decades ago for post-contact scenarios. With unprecedented emergency powers, they combed through classified records, genetic anomalies, and Black Ops reports, searching for any human beings who could possibly stand against the Zorkai. That's when they uncovered something unusual. Reports of individuals with impossible abilities, dismissed over the years as hoaxes, urban legends, or symptoms of mental illness. People who could bend metal with their minds, manipulate gravity in their presence, or survive gunfire unharmed. Individuals who never fit into any system, who disappeared into obscurity or fled from attention. As the Zorkai fleet approached, visible in the night sky as glowing red scars across the stars, 5 names surfaced. A telekinetic runaway hiding in the ruins of old Tokyo, a retired space marine living off-grid in Alaska, still carrying alien tech fused to his spine, a brilliant physicist fired from CERN for tampering with quantum AI protocols, a mutant marshal, artist from the slums of Neo Delhi, undefeated in underground death matches, and finally, a reclusive monk, rumored to have walked on air in the Himalayas and disappeared after an earthquake split a mountain in 2. With time running out, Project Sentinel moved quickly, deploying agents to recruit these outliers. Each resisted, mistrusted the system, or simply didn't believe Earth was worth saving. But one thing united them: rage. Rage at being cast aside, rage at watching the world fail them. And now, rage at a foreign force threatening their home. As the Zorkai ships descended into orbit, their colossal forms blotting out the sun in parts of the world, Earth's last hope didn't come from missiles or armies, but from 5 forgotten humans with powers no one fully understood. The world watched in silence. The war for Earth was about to begin. Massive Zorkai warships broke through Earth's upper atmosphere with precision and purpose. Unlike any alien invasion, Earth had imagined they didn't fire a single weapon. Instead, a towering figure, 10 feet tall, armored in living metal, broadcast a message to the planet in perfect translation. We are the Zorkai. We do not conquer through slaughter. We challenge through strength. You will present your 5 strongest warriors. They will face ours. This is tradition. This is law. Fight well or perish. Humanity stood on the edge of collapse. Military leaders debated launching preemptive strikes, but Project Sentinel pushed back hard. They knew Earth's only chance lay not in conventional force, but in the 5 extraordinary individuals they had just barely managed to gather. Each champion was brought to a secure location, the Helix Dome, an ancient defense complex buried under Greenland's ice, reactivated just for this event. It was here that the 5 finally met, and tensions exploded. Kara, the telekinetic teen, barely trusted anyone. She had lived most of her life alone, hunted and hidden. Her powers were wild, often uncontrollable. She could move objects with her mind, but her emotions made her dangerous. Sergeant Rex Weller, the retired Space Marine, was blunt and bitter. A decorated veteran of Earth's first failed expedition to Mars, he had been implanted with alien tech during a covert encounter decades ago. The cybernetics saved his life, but also marked him as a freak. He kept to himself, drinking to dull the memories and pain. Dr. Mina Calderon, a once celebrated quantum physicist, had been blacklisted after she illegally created a sentient AI that began rewriting its own code. Though the AI was shut down, Mina had secretly salvaged parts of its consciousness and now carried it with her in a neural-linked wristband called NOVA. Ashwin, the mutant fighter from the slums, had never lost a single underground match. His body had adapted over the years, bones like steel, reflexes beyond human limits. His mutation wasn't just survival, it was evolution. But Ashwin was reluctant to fight for a world that had always looked down on him. And finally there was Tenzin, the monk. Calm, unreadable, and patient, he claimed no special title or affiliation. Yet records placed him at several impossible events. Earthquakes halted mid-tremor, levitating stones, time anomalies. Some in Project Sentinel suspected he wasn't entirely human. Initial interactions between the champions were tense and skeptical. Trust was fragile. Some viewed the challenge as suicide. Others questioned if it was even worth fighting for humanity. But as they trained under harsh conditions and watched footage of Zorkai combat trials, where entire planetary champions had been wiped out, they realized two things. The Zorkai didn't just overpower species, they studied them, outclassed them, and then erased their cultures. Earth's greatest weapon wasn't just strength, it was unpredictability, adaptability, and the refusal to kneel. Project Sentinel leaked news of the champions to the public. Hope sparked. Billions tuned in daily. For the first time in centuries, the world was united, not under fear, but under defiance. As the date of the first duel neared, the 5 champions were prepped for battle. They weren't perfect, they weren't fully trained, but they were human, and that, perhaps, was what scared the Zorkai most. The Zorkai wasted no time. As their mothership hovered ominously above the Atlantic Ocean, casting an unnatural eclipse over half the planet, their voice thundered once again across the skies and digital networks. Earth's first champion. We'll face our warlord of strength. Prepare. There will be no mercy. Project Sentinel was in chaos. Most of the team favored sending Ashwin, the mutant fighter, into the first duel, his physical prowess unmatched. But before anyone could finalize the decision, Tenzin, the monk, quietly stepped forward and bowed. Zeit, dear. We'll go. Confusion rippled through the control room. Even the other champions protested. Tenzin was the oldest, appeared the weakest, and had revealed little of his power. But his calm gaze silenced them all. Without explanation, he simply walked into the transport bay. The duel was set to take place on neutral ground, a floating arena constructed by the Zorkai using gravity manipulation. Hovering above Iceland's active volcanic rift, it was encased in a shimmering energy dome. A worldwide broadcast was initiated, with billions of humans glued to screens. For many, this was the first real image of a Zorkai warrior. The warlord, of strength called Threxil, emerged. 12 feet tall, muscle layered over black chitin armor, 4 arms wielding plasma-forged weapons. He radiated a savage confidence. Threxil had ended over 100 planetary champions. He had never lost. Earth, he declared, would be crushed like bone dust. Then Tenzin entered the arena, barefoot, robed, and unarmed. The crowd gasped. The duel began instantly. Threxil charged like a meteor, bringing down a hammer strike that cratered the arena. But when the dust cleared, Tenzin stood untouched, the ground beneath his feet unbroken. What followed was not a battle of fists, but a demonstration of control. Every move Threxil made seemed to slow as it approached Tenzin. His weapons missed by inches. His roars echoed back at him strangely. Tenzin, breathing steadily, walked calmly through a storm of death as if gravity itself bent to his will. Then, with a single open-handed strike to the chest, Tenzin knocked Threxel back a full 10 meters. The crowd fell silent. That wasn't brute strength. That was precision force channeled through space and mass. Threxel roared in disbelief and lunged one final time. Tenzin closed his eyes. The warlord stopped mid-air, floating, frozen, as if held by an invisible force. Then, without a word, Tenzin redirected that energy, and Threxel was launched straight into the energy dome above, crashing with such force that it shorted part of the arena's shield. The duel was over. Earth had won the first round. The Zorkai Council, watching from orbit, was visibly shaken. This was not the expected outcome. Never had one of their warlords been defeated so elegantly, and without the victor even drawing blood. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. For the first time, real hope ignited. But behind the scenes, the Zorkai began recalibrating. Earth was no longer seen as a mere challenge. It was now a threat. Inside the Helix Dome, the champions looked at Tenzin with new eyes, not just as a monk, but something possibly far greater. And they all knew. The war had truly begun. The defeat of Threxel, the warlord of strength, sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Zorkai had tasted humiliation, not from an empire or a federation, but from a single, unarmed human. Earth's unexpected victory unsettled the Zorkai, but it also ignited their fury. They immediately called for the second duel. This time their champion was Velrak, the Swift Fang, a blur of movement, honed reflexes, and speed-enhancing exoskeletal armor. She had bested entire squadrons in nanoseconds and was infamous for slaughtering enemy leaders before their guards could blink. Earth selected Ashwin, the mutant martial artist, as its second champion. Though reluctant, Ashwin understood the stakes now. He had seen what Tenzin accomplished, and while he didn't share the monk's serenity, he knew his strength had a purpose. The duel took place on a mirror platform arena floating over the Sahara Desert, its surface designed to reflect movements, disorient vision, and test reaction times. A cruel choice from the Zorkai, meant to throw Earth's fighter off balance. From the moment it began, Velrak moved like lightning. Her blades carved glowing trails through the air, slicing through holographic decoys just to intimidate. But Ashwin didn't flinch. Years of surviving underground fights had taught him to read patterns in chaos. He didn't try to match her speed. He let her come, and when she struck, he adapted. Ashwin's mutated nervous system allowed his body to adjust in real time. With each close call, he learned her timing, her feints, her rhythm. In minutes, he went from struggling to parrying. Then, dodging. Then striking. A brutal elbow shattered Velrak's left shoulder. A sweep kick sent her spinning into a support beam. Ashwin didn't stop. With a roar, he unleashed a barrage of strikes so fast it was Velrak who couldn't keep up. In the final moment, he caught her mid-slash, twisted her into a lock, and drove her into the mirror floor, shattering the entire arena beneath them. Earth had its second victory. The Zorkai were now furious, but visibly worried. Their champions weren't just being overpowered. They were being outmatched, something unheard of in their conquests. The third duel was called with almost no delay, an act of desperation. The Zorkai sent a heavily armored juggernaut equipped with anti-telekinetic shielding and psychic nullifiers. Their goal was clear: eliminate Kara, the telekinetic girl, before she could fully tap into her potential. But Kara wasn't the same terrified runaway they had researched. With the guidance of Tenzin and Dr. Calderon, she had begun to understand her abilities. Her power wasn't just telekinesis. It was raw psionic force, capable of manipulating mass, inertia, and even electrical fields. The battle was set in low orbit, aboard a Zorkai gravity platform. Kara floated in space, helmetless, protected by a thin field of her own power. The Zorkai warrior charged, launching plasma bursts, flinging debris, attempting to overwhelm her. Kara closed her eyes, and broke the platform apart from within. She crushed the enemy's armor with invisible hands, ripped away his weapons, and hurled him into the cold void. The crowd watching from Earth saw her, glowing faintly against the stars like a goddess. 3 duels. 3 victories. Earth was no longer prey. They were becoming predators. But as the Zorkai regrouped, something else happened. A hidden data stream, buried deep in their transmissions, was intercepted by Dr. Calderon. It contained ancient biological scans, human DNA, labeled not as enemy, but as lost origin strain. The truth was beginning to surface. And the Zorkai were starting to panic. The third Earth victory sent the galaxy reeling. Never had the Zorkai lost 3 consecutive trials. Across their dominion, whispers of Earth's defiance began to spread. Some saw it as an anomaly, others as the beginning of a collapse. But within the Helix Dome, Earth's champions were less concerned with glory and more with the truth. After Kara's battle, Dr. Mina Calderon finished decrypting the strange data stream she had intercepted from the Zorkai mothership. What she found was staggering: a genetic blueprint, ancient and unmistakable. Embedded deep in the Zorkai's private archives was a file labeled Ancestral Origin Earth. It matched human DNA with an accuracy that couldn't be coincidence. The Zorkai hadn't just discovered Earth recently. They came from Earth. Tenzin confirmed the revelation with his own cryptic knowledge. From ancient scrolls and oral histories passed through hidden monastic orders, he recounted the legend of the first Exodus, a time when a faction of early humans, having experimented with radical gene modification, were cast out of the planet by the other tribes for becoming something no longer human. They left Earth in secret, carrying forbidden knowledge, traveling into the stars. Over tens of thousands of years, they evolved, transformed, and conquered, eventually becoming the Zorkai. The trial of strength wasn't a random galactic tradition. It was a ritual of dominance from the lost children of Earth, to prove they had surpassed their origin. But Earth was catching up, and fast. The Zorkai, aware that their genetic secret might be exposed, decided to accelerate the process. They announced the final duel, one that broke all tradition, a team battle. No longer one-on-one. 5 champions versus 1 being, the Overmind. The Overmind was not a warrior in the traditional sense. It was the Zorkai's true leader, a psychic being connected to every member of the species, controlling their minds and emotions with a hive-like grip. It was the architect of the Empire, a creature evolved beyond individuality. If Earth could defeat the Overmind, the entire Zorkai species would fall into disarray. But if the Overmind won, humanity would be subjected to genetic cleansing, their DNA harvested, altered, and absorbed into the Zorkai fold. The 5 champions were given 24 hours to prepare. During that time, they reflected, not just on the battles ahead, but on what it meant to be human. Kara, once afraid of her own power, embraced it. Ashwin, long resentful of humanity, began to feel pride. Rex Weller, hardened and cynical, found purpose again. Mina realized she wasn't just a mind, but a protector. And Tenzin? He meditated, smiled softly, and said, "The children have come home." But Earth wasn't done surprising the galaxy. The duel loomed. Word of Earth's resistance reached other species under Zorkai rule. Small acts of rebellion ignited. Silenced voices began to speak out. Even among the lower ranks of the Zorkai, doubt spread. If Earth, the primitive world, could defy the Overmind, what else had they been lied to about? The final battle would not just determine Earth's fate. It would determine who truly inherited the galaxy, the empire built on fear, or the species that refused to kneel. Constructed in low orbit and tethered to the Zorkai mothership itself, it was a sphere of shifting energy, layered in gravitational loops and fractal dimensions, designed not just to test strength but to unravel minds. It served one purpose: contain the Overmind, the Zorkai's true source of power. For millennia, the overmind had existed beyond form, a gestalt consciousness woven from the psychic threads of its people. It didn't speak. It broadcast emotion, fear, dominance, and submission. No creature had ever stood before it and survived intact. But Earth's champions were not ordinary creatures. Ashwin, Kara, Rex, Mina, and Tenzin stood together on the threshold, each carrying scars from their lives. And now, a purpose that stretched beyond species, beyond Earth itself. The moment they entered the arena, the overmind struck, not with weapons, but with psychic force. Each of them was instantly pulled into their own worst fear. Ashwin relived every underground fight, but this time, he lost, again and again, his body broken, worthless. Kara found herself a child again, surrounded by screaming scientists and walls collapsing inward, unable to control her abilities, hurting everyone she loved. Rex was back on Mars, holding the body of his squad mate as alien parasites chewed through armor, powerless to stop them. Mina floated in a void of silence, her Novier gone. Her mind disconnected from everything she'd built, and Tenzin stood alone, watching Earth burn from above, knowing his wisdom had changed nothing. But the overmind miscalculated. Where other species cracked, humans resisted. Where others submitted to fear, Earth's champions transformed it. Ashwin used the pain of his losses to fuel his evolution. In the illusion, he embraced defeat and realized it made him stronger. Kara's fear bent into focus. She pulled her scattered fragments together and turned the collapsing walls into wings of force. Rex, reliving failure, accepted that being powerless once didn't make him powerless now. He let go of guilt and unleashed his cybernetic potential in full. Mina didn't resist the silence. She let it teach her. From it, she rebuilt NOVA from memory, forming a new connection more powerful than before. And Tenzin, ever silent, simply smiled at the illusion. He walked through it untouched. Each broke free of their personal prisons and rejoined in the center of the overmind's sphere. Together they combined their powers in a way no enemy had ever prepared for. Humanity's secret wasn't strength, it wasn't speed, it was rebellion fused with imagination. It was the refusal to be controlled, the power of identity. Mina hacked the overmind's frequency and opened its psychic link to every Zorkai. Kara amplified it. Tenzin redirected the mental energy, while Ashwin and Rex held back waves of defensive drones. The final blow wasn't an attack, it was a revelation. The Zorkai, hearing the overmind falter and witnessing Earth's champions break the unbreakable, began to awaken. Dissent spread instantly. Minds that had been tethered for eons suddenly thought independently. The overmind fractured, then shattered. The mothership collapsed in on itself. The arena destabilized. Earth's champions barely escaped as the psychic lattice disintegrated. All across the galaxy, Zorkai control fractured. Empires fell, uprisings rose, and Earth, once the forgotten blue speck, became the symbol of resistance. The champions returned not as soldiers, but as legends. Their message was simple. We are not the strongest, we are not the oldest, but we are free. And now, so are you. The galaxy would never be the same again.